At the reunion, my wife's ex-boyfriend made a grand entrance in a six-figure sports car and publicly confessed his undying love to her. Everyone laughed at me, calling me the pathetic rebound guy who picked up the scraps. When I received the humiliating photos on my phone, I was in the middle of simmering short rib stew for my daughter. They didn't know that this seemingly ordinary woman had stood by me when I had nothing. And they certainly didn't know that the real counterattack was just beginning. "Daddy, is the soup ready yet? My tummy is rumbling." In the kitchen, my daughter Lily's milky voice drifted up. She hugged my leg with her tiny arms, looking up with eyes full of expectation. I smiled and patted her head, lifting the lid of the Dutch oven. The rich aroma of corn and pork ribs instantly filled the room. "Almost done, sweetie. I'll get you a bowl first. Careful, it's hot." I picked up the ladle, blowing gently on the steam. Just then, the phone in my pocket started vibrating like crazy, like a death knell. I wiped my hands and pulled it out. It was a chat group called Class of 15 Forever. There were already 99 plus new messages. This was my wife's Sarah College alumni group. Usually it was dead silent, but today it was blowing up. I tapped it open, and a photo smacked me right in the face. The background was the ballroom of a five-star hotel, crystal chandeliers blazing. In the center of the photo, a man in a bespoke suit, a Patek Philippe watch glinting on his wrist, was down on one knee. He held a glass of red wine, gazing soulfully at the woman opposite him. That woman was my wife, Sarah. Even though it was just her back, I'd recognize that pale blue dress anywhere. I'd bought it for her. Below the photo, the messages were scrolling frantically. "Holy crap, is Julian Thorne proposing? Wait, isn't he marrying that heiress next month?" It's not a proposal. It's the true confession segment. Julian said Sarah will always be the one that got away, and he wanted to speak his truth today. Yikes. Sarah's husband isn't there, is he? Talk about a slap in the face. Her husband? That guy Caleb Reed? I heard he's just a lowly code monkey. Makes maybe $4 or $5 grand a month, drives a beat-up sedan. You think he'd dare show his face at an event like this? Haha, brutal. Look at Julian. He drove up in the latest Porsche Panamera. The watch on his wrist costs more than a down payment on a house. How can Caleb compare? My brain buzzed as if I'd been hit by a sledgehammer. Clang! The ladle dropped from my hand into the pot, splashing boiling broth onto the back of my hand. It burned, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the twisting agony in my chest. Sarah and I had been married for 5 years. We started with nothing, put down roots in this city, bought a condo, and had a lovely daughter. I thought our relationship was solid as a rock, our family happy and complete. But this photo, these texts, they were like knives poking holes in my confidence and happiness. Julian Thorne. Of course I knew the name. He was Sarah's college ex. The man she claimed was ancient history. I heard he went abroad after graduation, came back to inherit the family empire, and was now living the high life, someone we regular folks only saw in magazines. Sarah went to the reunion today because he organized it. Before she left, I was a little uneasy, but Sarah had smiled and reassured me. "Caleb, don't you trust me? That's old news. I'm just going to see some old friends. You stay home with Lily, and I'll be back early." I believed her. Of course I believed her. But now, reality had slapped me across the face. "Daddy, what's wrong?" Lily saw my expression and looked scared, clutching my pant leg tighter. I took a deep breath, forcing down the rage and humiliation, and squeezed out a smile that was uglier than a frown. "Nothing, Daddy just slipped. Go watch TV for a bit, Lily. Soup's coming." After settling my daughter, I grabbed my phone, my knuckles turning white. I didn't explode in the group chat. That would only make me a bigger joke. Instead, I found a contact named Mike Higgins, my college roommate who was in the same department as Sarah's crew. I sent a message. "Mouse, what's the situation?" Mike replied almost instantly with a grimacing emoji followed by a voice note. I played it, lowering the volume. His voice was hushed, but couldn't drown out the noise and jeering in the background. "Caleb, don't freak out. This is all on Julian, that bastard. I don't know how much booze he downed, but he insisted on this tribute to youth segment. He wouldn't let go of Sarah, spouting all this nauseating crap." Sarah looked pissed. She wanted to leave, but couldn't. A bunch of people blocked her way. "Caleb, trust me, Sarah isn't into it. She hasn't given Julian a single smile the whole time." Mike was still explaining, but I couldn't hear it anymore. All I knew was that my wife was being confessed to by her ex in front of a roaring crowd, treated like entertainment. And I, her husband, was at home acting like a fool, making soup. A nameless fire shot from my heels to the top of my skull. I turned off the phone, untied my apron, and slammed it onto the sofa. No, I couldn't just sit here. My woman was being humiliated, and I was hiding at home like a turtle. I put on my shoes and grabbed the car keys. But as I reached the door, I stopped. What would happen if I went? Burst in and punched Julian? Then what? Be labeled a joke, a jealous, crazy loser? Tomorrow, my family would be the gossip of the entire alumni circle. And Sarah? How would she see me? Impulsive? Irrational? Distrusting? My fists clenched until they cracked, nails digging into my palms. I had never felt this suffocated in my life. Sitting in the cold living room, the clock on the wall ticked away, every second slicing through my patience. My mind was a mess. Julian's smug face in the photo, the stinging mockery in the chat, Sarah's gentle smile. I didn't know how much time passed until I heard the sound of keys in the lock. I snapped my head up like a provoked lion, staring dead at the door. Sarah was back. She opened the door, her face etched with exhaustion and annoyance. When she saw me sitting in the dark, eyes red, she froze. Caleb, why are you sitting there with the lights off? You scare me. Her voice held a trace of panic she tried to hide. I didn't speak. I just stood up and walked toward her, step by step. The living room was lit only by a night light, casting my shadow long across the floor like a silent judge. I walked up to her, shoved my phone screen in her face, my voice so raspy it didn't sound like mine. The reunion. Was it fun? Fun. The harsh light of the screen illuminated her face, which instantly turned pale. Sarah's face drained of color right before my eyes. Her lips moved, seemingly wanting to speak, but she lowered her gaze, avoiding my intense stare. Caleb, listen to me. It's not what it looks like. Not what it looks like. I let out a cold laugh. The anger in my chest found a vent and erupted. Then what is it? Am I blind? Or are the dozens of people in that group chat blind? Sarah, you're one that got away, confessed to you in front of everyone. Did that boost your ego? My voice wasn't loud, but every word was squeezed through my teeth, dripping with ice. In 5 years of marriage, I had never spoken to her like this. Sarah flinched. She looked up, her eyes instantly reddening. Caleb Reed, what kind of person do you think I am? Her voice rose, filled with grievance and anger. I didn't say a single word to him from start to finish. He was the one acting crazy, and the crowd was egging him on. I was cornered. I couldn't leave. What was I supposed to do? What were you supposed to do? I took a step forward, forcing her to look at me. You could have slapped him right there. You could have flipped the table and walked out. Instead, you stood there like in the photo, silently enduring it. It makes me wonder, did you actually enjoy the attention? I didn't. She almost screamed, tears streaming down her face. I rejected him on the spot. I told Julian he was drunk and to have some self-respect. But people were pulling at me, cheering, taking pictures. I didn't want to make a bigger scene and embarrass you too. Embarrass me? I laughed like I'd heard the world's biggest joke. Is there any dignity left for me to lose? The whole alumni group is buzzing about Caleb Reed's wife getting hit on by her ex. They're all laughing at me, calling me a loser, a waste of space who can't even hold onto his own wife. I tossed the phone onto the sofa. The chat log was still stuck on the page mocking me. Sarah glanced at it, swayed on her feet, and turned even paler. She probably hadn't realized how bad it had gotten online. A dead silence fell over the living room. Only our heavy breathing remained, along with the faint sound of Lily snoring from her bedroom. The realization of our daughter sleeping nearby was like a bucket of ice water on my burning rage, restoring a shred of my sanity. I collapsed onto the sofa, burying my hands in my hair, feeling a wave of powerlessness. I did not trust her. I was hateful. I hated Julian's arrogance. I hated the faces of that crowd, and I hated my own inability to do anything about it. If I, Caleb Reed, had been the one driving a Panamera today, would Julian have dared to be so brazen? Would those people have dared to mock me so recklessly? At the end of the day, it was because Sarah wept silently. She walked over, crouched beside me, and carefully took my hand. Her hand was freezing. Caleb, I'm sorry, she choked out. I shouldn't have gone. I didn't think Julian would be like this. I thought it was just a simple get-together. He's always been like this. Arrogant, conceited, needing to control everything. She paused, her voice holding a weary disgust. That's why we broke up in college. I couldn't stand his entitlement. I looked up at her tear-stained face. Unknowingly, the anger in my heart dissipated, replaced by a dull ache of sympathy. Why was I taking it out on her? The one who deserved to be drawn and quartered was that bastard Julian. I squeezed her hand and pulled her up to sit beside me, gently wiping her tears with the back of my hand. Stop crying, I said softly. It's not that I don't trust you. I couldn't stand it. I know. Sarah leaned on my shoulder, like a wounded kitten. I was about to explode too. If Mike and a few friends hadn't helped me break out of the circle, I wouldn't have known how to end it. I came straight home the second I got free. Why didn't you call me? I asked, my voice muffled. I didn't want you to worry, and I didn't want you impulsive. She sighed. I know your temper. If you had shown up, there would have been a fight. Someone like Julian was waiting for you to make a fool of yourself. I fell silent. She was right. In my state, going there would have been pouring gas on the fire. So we just let it go? I asked, unwilling to accept it. Of course not. Sarah suddenly sat up straight, a cold light flashing in her eyes that I had never seen before. Caleb, we're husband and wife. If people bully us, we don't just take it. I looked at her, surprised. In my mind, she had always been gentle and non-confrontational. What do you want to do? Isn't he getting married next month? Sarah's lips curled into a cold sneer. He embarrassed us today. We owe him a big gift in return, don't we? Seeing the chill in her eyes, I suddenly felt I had never truly known the depths of my wife. That night, we talked for a long time. From Julian's actions to our future plans. The gloom pressing on my heart gradually lifted. Anger and self-pity solved nothing. Julian wanted to see me fail. He wanted to crush me with his money and status. Then I would show him that Caleb Reed, even as a regular programmer, was not a soft target. And my wife, Sarah, was not some white moonlight trophy he could reclaim at will. She was my partner in battle, the family I would spend my life protecting. The next morning, I got up to make breakfast and took Lily to preschool as usual. Everything seemed normal, but we both knew something had shifted. That argument had been like tempering steel. Instead of driving us apart, it bonded us tighter. We had a common enemy. However, I underestimated how shameless Julian could be. I thought the reunion farce was over, but it was merely the opening act. That afternoon, I was coding at the office when the receptionist ran over, looking ready to gossip. Caleb, someone's downstairs for you. He's driving a blue Porsche and says he's a friend of your wife. My heart dropped. I walked downstairs. Sure enough, a flashy blue Porsche Panamera was parked arrogantly at the entrance, drawing stares from passersby. The door opened, and Julian, wearing a tailored casual suit and sunglasses, stepped out. He took off his sunglasses, revealing a handsome but arrogant face, and grinned at me, showing perfect white teeth. Mr. Reed, right? Hello, I'm Julian Thorne, Sarah's old friend. He put heavy emphasis on old friend, staking a claim. I looked at him expressionlessly. What do you want? Don't be so cold. He leaned against the car door, looking relaxed. At the reunion yesterday, I had too much to drink and said some nonsense that upset Sarah. I came specifically to apologize. Apologize? I looked at his, I'm rich and I'm flaunting it expression. It didn't look like an apology. No need. Just stay away from my wife. That's the best respect you can show us, I replied coldly. Julian ignored my dismissal. He reached into the car and pulled out a beautifully wrapped box. This is a gift for your daughter, a small token. He held out the box. I heard she likes Lego. This is the new Disney Castle, limited edition. I had a friend bring it from overseas. I glanced at the box. The massive packaging showed a magnificent castle. The price tag hadn't even been removed. $8.88. He wasn't giving a gift. He was slapping me with money. He knew I was a regular salaryman. He was telling me that what I couldn't give my daughter, he could give with pocket change. Everything Sarah and I had built looked cheap to him. Anger shot to my brain. I didn't take the box. Instead, I took a step forward, looked him in the eye, and said, Mr. Thorne, my daughter's toys don't need to be bought by an outsider. We can't accept your token. Take your stuff and leave immediately. My intensity clearly surprised him. His smile stiffened, then returned to that condescending sneer. Caleb, no need to be so sensitive. I just want to be nice to Sarah to make up for past regrets. After all, we had a very beautiful. Enough. I cut him off sharply. Nobody cares about the past. Sarah is my wife and Lily's mother. She has nothing to do with you. If you harass us again, don't blame me for getting nasty. My voice wasn't loud, but it was a clear warning. Colleagues were already peeking out the windows. Julian's face finally darkened. He probably hadn't expected a stinking coder to talk back to him. He squinted, looking me up and down with disdain. Get nasty? Caleb, I'm curious. How exactly are you going to get nasty with me? He sneered, pulling a business card from his pocket and flicking it at my chest. I heard you're trying to get funding for a smart home startup project, but you're hitting walls everywhere. The card fluttered to the ground. It read, Innotech Ventures, CEO Julian Thorne. My pupils constricted. Innotech was a VC firm that had recently become famous in the industry for deep pockets and ruthless tactics. My project had just been rejected by a VC firm a few days ago. The boss of that firm seemed to have connections to Innotech. It was him. Well, interested in a chat. Julian's mouth curved into a playful smirk. Just say the word. $1 million. Invested immediately. Of course, the condition is you have to know when to let go. The implication in his eyes was obvious. This was a naked threat and a bribe. He wanted to use money to make me quit and hand over Sarah. I was shaking with rage. I looked at the card on the ground, then at his triumphant face, and suddenly laughed. Julian, I said his name calmly. He raised an eyebrow, thinking I was swayed. I bent down, picked up the card, and right in front of his face tore it in half, then into quarters. Finally, I tossed the confetti into a nearby trash can. My project doesn't need your dirty money. I looked up, my eyes cold as knives. And I'm warning you, stay away from my family, or I'll make you understand the meaning of regret. I didn't look at him again. I turned and walked away. Behind me, Julian's voice was ice cold. Caleb Reed, you'll pay the price for your backbone. I didn't look back, but when I got to my desk, I felt like all the strength had been drained from my body. Mike texted me. Caleb, did that bastard Julian come find you? Don't fall for it. He's a psycho. I replied with a simple, yeah, unable to type anything else. I thought if I was tough enough, he would back off. I was wrong. People like Julian are like parasites. Once they latch on, you can't shake them. When he couldn't break me directly, he started dismantling my life from the sidelines. The next day, our landlord suddenly called. He wasn't renewing the lease. He wanted us out in a week, offering to pay 1 month's penalty for the... We had lived in that condo for 3 years. The rent was fair, it was close to Lily's preschool, and we had a good relationship with the owner. Why the sudden flip? Immediately after, Sarah got a notice from work. The major project she was leading was reassigned to a notorious nepotism hire. Sarah had busted her back for that company, consistently a top performer. She had nurtured this project for 6 months, and just as it was bearing fruit, it was snatched away. We weren't idiots. Behind all of this was an invisible hand. Julian's hand. He was cutting off our retreat, trying to force us out of the city. That night, after Lily fell asleep, Sarah and I sat in the living room, silent. The air was suffocating. Caleb, maybe we should move? Leave this place, Sarah said, her voice tired and weak. I looked at her gaunt face, my heart stinging. Sara, I'm sorry. I'm useless. I held her hand, my voice raspy. It's not your fault. She shook her head, gripping my hand back. I'm the one who dragged you and Lily into this. We're married. Don't talk about dragging anyone down. I pulled her into a hug. Don't be scared. The sky isn't falling. We lose the apartment. We find another. Work sucks. We quit. If Julian thinks these petty tricks will break us, he's underestimating us. I said the words, but inside, I had no confidence. Julian controlled resources and connections. Crushing us was as easy as crushing an ant for him. Could we really survive this? Just as I was spiraling into despair, Sarah's phone rang. A strange number. Sarah picked it up. She only said, hello, and her face instantly changed. What did you say? I'm coming right now. She hung up, her hands trembling. What is it? A bad feeling rose in my gut. She looked at me, sobbing. It's the hospital. My mom. She just had a massive stroke. We're resuscitating her. My mind went blank. We rushed my mother-in-law to the city's best neurological center. When we arrived at the ER, the hallway reeked of that cold, sharp antiseptic smell. The doctor told us the situation was critical. Massive brainstem hemorrhage. She needed an immediate craniotomy, but the risk was extremely high. Doctor, please, you have to save my mom. Sarah grabbed the doctor's white coat, crying so hard she almost fainted. We will do our best, the doctor said gravely. You need to handle the paperwork. Between the surgery, ICU stay, and rehabilitation, you need to prepare at least $200,000 up front. Insurance might not cover the specific specialists needed immediately. $200,000. That number was like a mountain crushing my chest. We had been saving for years just to put a down payment on a house. All our liquid savings amounted to maybe 40 grand. Where do we get the rest? Sarah obviously realized this too. Her face turned sheet white, and she swayed. I caught her quickly. Don't panic. I'll figure out the money. There's always a way. I pulled out my phone and frantically started calling every relative and friend I could think of. Hey, Uncle Dave, Mom's sick. We really need cash. Hey, Johnny, got any liquidity? I need a loan to turn things around. I went through the contact listing again, but the results were chilling. Some hung up the moment they heard money. Others wanted to help, but were living paycheck to paycheck and could only spare $1,000 or $2,000. I tallied up everything I could borrow. Scraped together, it was barely 60,000. We were still short by 140 grand. Time was ticking away, every second burning through our hope. Sarah squatted in the corner, holding her head, weeping in despair. Seeing her helpless, my heart felt like it was being squeezed by a giant hand. I was so useless. If I made more money, if I had more power, I wouldn't be standing here helpless while my family needed me most. Just then, the voice I wanted to hear least echoed from the end of the hallway. Sarah. I spun around. Julian was there in a sharp suit, holding a bouquet of flowers, walking briskly toward us. Why was he here? Behind him trailed an assistant carrying a fruit basket. He walked up to us, glanced at the red light of the operating room, and put on a mask of perfect concern. I heard from friend that your mother fell ill, so I rushed over. How is she? He handed the flowers to Sarah, his tone dripping with tenderness. Sarah didn't take them. She looked at him with red, swollen eyes, her gaze full of suspicion and disgust. How did you know? My voice was ice cold. Julian glanced at me, a flicker of disdain crossing his eyes before he put his hypocritical mask back on. Mr. Reed, now isn't the time for questions. Saving a life matters most. I happen to know the chief of staff here. I've already made a call. The best specialist in the hospital will consult on her case. He paused, pulled a bank card from his pocket, and shoved it into Sarah's hand. There's 500,000 in this account. The pin is your birthday. Use it. If it's not enough, just tell me. Money isn't important. Your mother's health is. The black card looked piercingly bright under the pale hallway lights. $500,000. He said it so casually, as if it wasn't a fortune, but a stack of waste paper. This was charity. This was the most vicious kind of humiliation. He was using this to tell me that in front of him, all my efforts and struggles were worthless. If he wanted to, he could easily solve the problem that I was killing myself trying to fix. We don't need it. I snatched the card from Sarah's hand and threw it hard at Julian's face. Take your dirty money and get the hell out. The card hit his face with a snap and fell to the floor. The hallway went instantly silent. Julian's face turned ugly for the first time. The warmth and worry vanished, replaced by a dark haze. He stared at me like a venomous snake. Caleb Reed, are you insane? He hissed through his teeth. Is this the time to play the hero? What are you going to use to save her? Your pathetic salary? That stupid startup that's about to go bust. That's my business. Stay out of it. My eyes were bloodshot. I was ready to tear him apart. Your business. Julian laughed coldly. You think you can handle this? Look at the life Sarah lives with you. Can't pay rent, can't keep a job, and now her mother is dying in surgery, and you can't even cough up the cash. You are a loser. The word loser was like a poison dagger plunging into my heart. All my self-esteem, all my pride, was trampled under his feet in that moment. Shut up, I roared, swinging my fist at his face. But his assistant was fast, stepping in to block me. And then, the moment that broke my heart happened. Sarah, who had been silent, suddenly spoke. Enough, Caleb. Stop making a scene. Her voice was full of exhaustion and disappointment. I looked at her in disbelief. She didn't look at me. She walked over and bent down to pick up the bank card from the floor. Then, she looked up at Julian and said hoarsely, Julian, thank you. I'm borrowing this. I will pay you back. My brain exploded. I watched her holding that card, and felt the world spinning. She actually accepted Julian's money. In front of me, while I was being humiliated by him, she chose to accept his charity. In that moment, I felt something inside me shatter completely. It was trust, dignity, and the bond one thought was unbreakable. A victor's smile spread across Julian's face. He walked over, patted my shoulder, and whispered so only I could hear, see that? In the face of reality, your pathetic pride is worthless. He turned and left with his assistant. The hallway was empty except for me, Sarah, and my crushed heart. I looked at her. She looked at me. It felt like an unbridgeable canyon had opened between us. Why? I used every ounce of strength to ask that one word. She didn't answer. She just gripped the card tightly, turned around, and walked toward the billing department. Her back looked resolute and like a stranger's. I stood there, frozen, feeling like the entire world had abandoned me. It's never the last straw that breaks the camel's back. It's every single straw before it. And Sarah's choice was just the final one that crushed me. I don't know how I left the hospital. I wandered the streets late at night like a ghost. The city neon flickered, but none of them reached inside me. Julian's, you are a loser, and Sarah's stop making a scene played on loop in my brain. I lost. I lost completely. I lost to Julian's money, and I lost to cruel reality. I sat down at a roadside food stall, ordered a case of beer, and poured bottle after bottle down my throat. The cold liquid slid down, but it couldn't put out the fire in my gut. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through photos of Sarah and me. From our awkward college selfies, to our wedding smiles, to the warm moments of our family of three. The sweeter the memory, the more it hurt now. I thought we could weather any storm. I thought love conquered all. I was wrong. Facing a $200,000 surgery bill, all my backbone and principles became a joke. My phone rang. It was Mike. "Caleb, where are you? I heard your mother-in-law is hospitalized. You holding up okay?" he asked anxiously. "I'm fine, iraspit. Find my ass. You sound terrible." Mike cursed on the other end. "Did that bastard Julian find you again? Listen to me. Do not trust him. I just got some intel. Your mother-in-law's hospitalization might be his doing." My hand holding the beer bottle froze, spilling foam over my fingers. "What did you say?" I asked around. "The VC firm that rejected your project? Their biggest shareholder is Innotech Ventures. And your landlord breaking the lease, Sarah losing her project. Julian's fingerprints are all over it. He's cornering you." Mike's voice was full of rage. I suspect even the old lady's stroke was triggered by him. He must have found a way to agitate her on purpose. Mike's words were like lightning splitting the chaos in my mind. I suddenly remembered that just a few days ago, my mother-in-law had called us cheerfully, saying she felt great. How could she have a massive brain hemorrhage out of nowhere? Could it really be Julian? The thought made me shudder. If that was true, the man's malice was terrifying. He dismantled my career, my home, and finally, he wouldn't even spare my family. And I had misunderstood Sarah. Like an idiot, when she needed my support the most, I focused on my bruised ego and threw a tantrum, leaving her to face it alone. How helpless and desperate must she have felt taking that card? Regret and guilt drowned me like a tidal wave. I threw cash on the table and ran toward the hospital like a madman. I had to find her. I had to apologize. I rushed back to the hospital, ran to the billing window, ran to the ER doors. She wasn't there. I called her phone. It went straight to voicemail. Just as I was about to lose my mind, I saw her in the quiet little garden behind the hospital. She was sitting alone on a bench. The street lamp stretched her shadow long and thin, making her look isolated and small. She wasn't crying. She was just sitting there quietly, clutching that bank card, staring into space. I softened my steps and walked over slowly. "Sarah." She heard my voice, stiffened, and slowly looked up. Her eyes were red and swollen, her face streaked with tears. "I am sorry." I walked up to her, my voice choking. I shouldn't have doubted you." She looked at me, tears welling up again, but she smiled, a smile more painful than crying. "You finally came back." I crouched down and pulled her tightly into my arms. I am sorry. Apart from those words, I didn't know what else to say. She wept loudly in my arms, as if letting out all the grievance and pressure of the last few days. After a long time, she slowly calmed down. She pulled away, wiped her eyes, and then did something I didn't expect. She handed the bank card to me. "Caleb, we can't use this card." I was stunned. "But Mom's surgery fee. I already paid it." She looked at me, her gaze incredibly steady. "I listed my parents' old condo with a broker for an emergency sale. The price was low, but I got the $200,000. I shook all over. That condo was the only thing her parents had left her. It was her safety net, her roots. She sold it for me, just so she wouldn't have to take Julian's charity. I looked at her, my throat blocked, unable to speak a single word. "Caleb Reed, listen to me." She held my hand, a light in her eyes I'd never seen before. From the moment I decided to sell the house, I made up my mind. Julian wants to use money to break us, to humiliate us, to make us kneel. We cannot let him win. She paused, took her phone out of her bag, and opened a voice recording file. "I just want to see Julian." My heart jumped. "Don't worry, I didn't go alone. I have Mike wait nearby. I want to get back what belongs to us." She pressed play. From the phone came Julian's gloating voice. "Well, Sarah, now do you know who can give you the life you want? Leave that loser and come back to me. I guarantee you and your mother will have the best of everything." Then came Sarah's calm voice. "Julian, I'm asking you, my mother's hospitalization, did you have something to do with it?" Julian was silent for a few seconds, then let out a scornful laugh. "So what if I did? I just had someone send her a greeting, told her how miserable you are with that loser. I didn't think she'd be so fragile. But it worked out. At least it made you see reality." In the recording, Julian's voice was filled with naked malice and arrogance. "And Caleb's trash stuff, I kill that too. He wants to fight me. He's too green. In this city, if I want someone dead, they die. Hearing this, my fist cracked, a towering rage almost burning away my reason. That animal. The recording continued. Sarah's voice remained terrifyingly calm. Julian, aren't you afraid of karma? Karma? Ha ha ha. Julian sounded like he'd heard the funniest joke. Sarah, don't be naive. In this world, money and power are karma. What does Caleb have to compete with me? Do you have any choice but to accept my help? Yes. Sarah's voice suddenly turned cold and sharp. My choice is to make you pay for what you've done. The recording stopped abruptly. I looked up, staring at Sarah in shock. I saw the fire burning in her eyes, the resolve of someone backed into a corner, fighting for their life. Sarah, isn't he holding his grand engagement party with that heiress next month? Sarah looked at me, the corner of her mouth lifting in a cold arc. He destroyed our life, so we are going to destroy the thing he cares about most. Julian's engagement party was held at the rooftop ballroom of the city's most luxurious waterfront hotel. Rumor had it the decor alone cost 7 figures. The city's elite, business tycoons, and socialites all received invitations. Julian wanted a wedding of the century-style engagement to announce the powerful union between the Thorne family and his fiancée's dynasty. It was the moment he cared about most, a moment that could not afford a single flaw. And Sarah and I chose today to deliver our carefully prepared gift. The ballroom was a sea of luxury, glasses clinking, perfumes mingling. Julian wore a white Armani tuxedo, breezing through the guests with the confidence of a winner, soaking up the flattery. His fiancée, a petite heiress named Chloe Sterling, clung to his arm like a proud peacock, radiating happiness. No one knew a storm was about to sweep through. Sarah and I, dressed in rented catering uniforms, slipped into the venue with the waitstaff and quietly made our way to the media control room in the back. Mike Higgins had already used his skills to hack into the system. Caleb, Sarah, everything is green. Ready when you are. Mike's voice came through my earpiece. I took a deep breath, looked at Sarah beside me, and squeezed her hand. Her palm was cold, but her eyes were fierce. Ready? I asked her. She nodded at me and smiled. Caleb, I've never felt closer to you than I do right now. I smiled too. Whatever storms we had weathered, our trust and love were now unbreakable. The time has come. Please give a warm round of applause for today's happiest couple, Mr. Julian Thorne and Miss Chloe Sterling, for their speech. The MC's voice boomed from the stage. Spotlights instantly hit Julian and his fiancée. Arm in arm, they walked to the center of the stage, smiling. Julian picked up the microphone, cleared his throat, his face glowing with the halo of success. Thank you so much to all our distinguished guests for taking the time to join Chloe and me. He began his hypocritical pleasantries, and polite applause rippled through the crowd. Now, I spoke into the mic. Mike hit it. The next second, the massive LED screen in the center of the ballroom, which had been playing a slideshow of the couple's sweet photos, suddenly went black. Everyone froze. On stage, Julian frowned, looking to the back with annoyance. Then, the screen lit up again. It wasn't a photo. It was the audio waveform of the recording Sarah made in the hospital garden. Julian's arrogant, venomous voice blasted through the top-tier sound system, echoing clearly in every corner of the ballroom. So what if I did? I just had someone send her a greeting. Caleb's trash startup? I kill that too. In this city, if I want someone dead, they die. Sentence after sentence, bomb after bomb detonating in the crowd. The banquet hall went from a festive celebration to a deathly silence in an instant. Everyone stared wide-eyed, looking in disbelief at the man on stage whose face had turned ghastly pale. Julian's fiancée, Chloe, looked horrified. She shook off Julian's hand, pointing at the screen, trembling. Julian, what? What is this? Julian panicked completely. He screamed frantically toward the back of the room. Turn it off. Turn it off now. Who is doing this? But it was too late. The recording finished, and the screen began displaying evidence of Julian's stalking, the sabotage, screenshots of chats with the investors and our landlord. The proof was ironclad. The guests below exploded into chaos. My God, he's that kind of person? Attacking an old lady? He's an animal. That's terrifying. Using those tactics to force an ex-girlfriend and ruining someone's career. How could the Sterling family associate with scum like that? If she marries him, she's jumping into a fire pit. Chloe's father, Mr. Sterling, a titan in the business world, had a face dark as thunder. He strode onto the stage and, without a word, slapped Julian hard across the face. Smack! The crisp sound echoed through the hall. Julian Thorne, you bastard. You've humiliated my family. The engagement is off. He grabbed his weeping daughter and stormed out of the ballroom without looking back. Julian's parents rushed up, screaming at their son. The once glamorous engagement party had turned into a laughingstock. Julian stood on stage like a beaten dog, accepting the pointing fingers and contempt of the crowd. He knew he was finished. His reputation, his marriage, his business credibility, all destroyed in a single moment. From the back, Sarah and I watched it all through the monitors. The thrill of revenge wasn't as intense as I expected. Instead, my heart was peaceful. We turned and quietly slipped away from the scene. Walking out of the hotel, the sunshine outside was perfect, warm on our shoulders. Sarah leaned on my arm and whispered, "Caleb, it's over." "Yeah, it's over." I held her hand tight. "Let's go home." A few days later, my mother-in-law's surgery was a success, and she was out of danger. The Thorne family business took a massive hit from the scandal, their stock price plummeting into crisis. As for my project, with Julian's influence removed, the previous investors actually came back knocking on my door, offering even better terms. Life seemed to return to normal. Actually, it was better than before. That night, I was back in the kitchen, simmering short rib stew for my two favorite girls. Same kitchen, same soup, but my state of mind was completely different. "Daddy, is the soup ready?" "Lily and Mommy are starving." My daughter and Sarah stood at the kitchen doorway, one big and one small, grinning at me. I looked at their smiling faces and felt like I owned the world. I spooned up some broth, blew on it, and held it to Sarah's lips. "Honey, taste this. How's the salt?" She took a sip, eyes crinkling into a smile. "Just right." Yeah, everything was just right. Life might have storms, but as long as we were together, hand in hand, heart to heart, there was no hurdle we couldn't clear. Because family is our safest harbor, and love is our strongest ace in the hole.